Hey, it's Rabbi Shmuel Paul. Hope you're all doing well. Unfortunately, we've seen lately a resurgence of anti-Semitism. This happens in every single generation, and the Jews always survive it, and we will make it out of this one as well. We just need to make sure that the good people in this world stick together and stand up strongly against any form of Nazism, because Nazism can get out of control very quickly. Because unfortunately, our laws are not based upon God's laws; they're based upon man's laws, as I've explained many times. But I just want to respond to this whole allegation that the Jews killed Jesus, because we have a lot of white supremacists and Nazis saying the Jews killed Jesus, and this is somehow even worse than the Holocaust, which is like an unbelievable thing to say, but I heard actually someone say that. And my first question is, do these white supremacists really care about Jesus? Are they like devout Christians? Is this something they really care about? Or are they using Jesus as a justification for their hate and anti-Semitism? And I think the answer is obvious. They do not care about Jesus and his fate. They're not mourning Jesus. They are not upset about Jesus being killed. They are just using this idea that the Jews killed Jesus to justify their hatred of Jews. Now, Jesus was crucified, and crucifixion is not one of the methods of Jewish execution. So it was obviously not the Jews who actually killed Jesus. So this statement, the Jews killed Jesus, is certainly, patently, obviously wrong, and it is evil to accuse a people, especially an entire people who had nothing to do with it, especially the Jews of this generation who had nothing to do with it, and even to accuse all the Jews of Jesus' time of killing him is completely unfair, completely evil. It should not be done, it should not be said, should not be allowed to be said, because it is a very dangerous idea. And the Jews did not kill Jesus. Even the ones who were maybe involved in his death did not do the actual killing, because crucifixion is a tool of the Romans that they would use to crucify insurrectionists, but not a tool of the Jewish execution methods. There are Jewish execution methods, which I don't think were in place at that time, but there is choking and burning and stoning, and crucifixion is just not one of the bunch. So we know that this was a Roman way of killing someone, and the Romans did it. The question then becomes, did the Jews hand him over? Well, if we think about it, we think about the position that the Jews were in and the position that the Romans were in. Did the Romans really need the Jews to tell them to kill Jesus? Does that make any sense whatsoever? I mean, the Jews were a persecuted people. They were low on the totem pole. They were low on the food chain. Why would the Romans need an excuse? Why would they need the Jews to hand him over when they could just take him themselves? Because the Romans obviously thought he was a big threat, and they knew what a threat he was, and they could just take him and crucify him without a problem, and the Jews would have nothing to say about it. They don't need the Jews to hand the Romans over. In fact, if the Jews did that, the Romans very well would say, who the heck are you to tell us what to do? We're especially not going to do what you're asking us to do. Because it's just like a bunch of prisoners coming along to the president and telling him that, well, we really don't like this guy. He's a bad guy and he should have the death penalty. Is the president going to listen to these criminals? Is he going to listen to these people who are so low down in society and that listen to him when they're telling them how to run their court system, how to run executions of their people? No. The president will decide to execute whoever he decides to execute. Doesn't need anyone to tell him what to do. So did he hand them over? It wouldn't have made any difference even if they did, because the Romans will make their own decisions the way they want to run their empire. Would the Jews hand him over? It's not likely, because there's actually a prohibition against Jews from handing criminals over to non-Jewish authorities. It's called Masira, and Jews cannot be a moser. They cannot be a snitch. They cannot snitch about a Jew, give them and tell the authorities about what they did. It is illegal. It is against halacha. It's against Jewish law, and it certainly did not happen when we're dealing with the Pharisees, who were very, very observant, saintly Jews. They could not collectively go ahead and violate this law against Masira, which carries the death penalty itself. So if the situation were just at the time, and I imagine that it was, somebody who commits Masira, somebody who snitches on a Jew and sends him over to a Jewish authority would themselves be killed. So there is a high probability that this could not have happened. Did the Jews approve of Jesus' behavior? That's another question. Jesus was creating a new religion. understand that. There's a new religion that was supposed to replace Judaism, and Judaism was the religion of Mount Sinai when God revealed himself to 3 million people. In other words, if Jesus had his way, there would be the destruction of Judaism. And if someone is trying to destroy Judaism, which is the true revelation from Sinai, it could have brought a decree from God, yes, God, that Jesus should be stopped and punished. It's very, very possible because we see in the Bible the punishments for false prophets, and false prophets are such a serious matter because when they make a prophecy and it comes true, or even if it doesn't come true, people start following them. And they start listening to what they have to say, and it could easily branch off into new religions, which is what happened with Jesus. A new religion was brought about, and that's why there may have been a Sanhedrin, a court case against Jesus, because they needed to call out what he was doing, and what he was doing was creating a new religion. At the end of the day, we learn in Hasidic philosophy, we learn in the Kabbalah that God creates the world at every single moment. And Christianity only exists because Jesus was killed. So this was obviously part of God's plan. It was part of his plan to create Christianity. He obviously wanted Christianity to be in the world. So God wanted Jesus killed, and that's the real reason he was killed. And if you want to blame anyone, take it up with God, because he is the prime mover. He's the one that started it all. And he's the one we all must answer to. And the Jews are known in the Bible as a light unto the nations and the chosen people. That means God believes the Jews should get extra respect, not anti-Semitism, but extra respect, and non-Jews should cherish them as they are the light bearers of the wisdom of the Torah that was revealed to 3 million people. They should not be persecuted for something they didn't even do. That is outrageous and extremely hateful and bigoted. And we should not be tolerating any further persecution of the Jewish people. On the contrary, Jewish people should be cherished by the non-Jewish people. If anyone turns against the Jewish people, God turns against them. Their careers are quickly destroyed. Not because there's a Jewish mafia in Hollywood. Jews don't run everything as some think. It's because God destroys people who turn against the Jewish people. There's a certain power there that God has imbued into the world, where the world will not accept and not condone and not encourage people who stand against the Jewish people. People who stand against the Jewish people are dangerous. They're bringing back Nazism. They should be given no platforms, and they should be given no way to organize on the internet. We must stop them from organizing on the internet, because Nazism can quickly take root and kill millions of people, as has been proven. So let's stop the fighting amongst ourselves, among good people. Let's all stand together, right wing, left wing. Everybody can agree that Nazism is bad. Everyone can agree that Nazism is a threat to our society and to our well-being, to the well-being of anyone, including blacks, even though blacks are the ones committing the anti-Semitism at the time. But blacks would also be killed by Adolf Hitler because he would consider them subhuman. So certainly blacks should stand together with the good people against Nazism, and together we'll have a peaceful world when we establish it on the foundations of the Holy Torah. God bless.